Now it's the next day and the glue is all dried, and you can see there's a little bit of dried foam on there, but not too badly. Now the next thing is to clean that out, get the wax out of there that we put in, and be sure that's all cleaned out and squared up. I use an X-Acto knife to carve the wax out. It comes out quite easily. It does take a little bit of doing. It just comes out as a glob, and then kind of scrape the edges where the glue might have gotten in there a little bit. One side and then the other side. Okay. And then this is a gun bore cleaning brush that's made for cleaning bores of guns, which I don't have a gun, but this comes in very handy for scraping out and cleaning out the inside of the brass tube from the glue residue or the wax residue, whatever else might be in there. It has to be clean out of there because, as I said, the parts of the pen are just a pressure fit into the ends of the brass tube, and if you have glue residue or wax residue or something in there, you'll have a either hard or impossible time of getting the pieces to fit properly. Also, you'll have some difficulty getting it on your lathe. Then I like to take it back to the bandsaw and just shave off a little bit of the ends, trying to get it as close to the edge of the brass tube as I possibly can. You want to be real careful not to reduce the length of these brass tubes because that is preset for the type of pen you're making. In the next step, we have to make the surface of the edge to be at an exact right angle to the plane of the tube, so that when we put the pen together, the pieces fit nice and flat and there's no gaps on one side or flat spots on the other. To do that, we use a little device called a barrel trimmer, and it's just a reamer that fits into the tube, and then the edges of the trimmer itself are sharpened, and this goes in the drill, and then you turn it around and it grinds the wood down to make it parallel to the tubes, or perpendicular to the tubes. And then we'll take what they call the barrel facing tool, and we'll put it in our electric drill, and then we'll take the blank and just put it in this vise to hold it while we do this. And you don't want to tighten the vise too much because you don't want to risk flattening out the tube or making the tube misshapen in any way, otherwise you'll have a heck of a time getting your parts together. So the reamer goes in the tube, and it also has sharp edges here, so if there's any extra glue stuck in there, it'll help to trim it out. And then you just turn the drill on and grind down the wood. And you just want to get until you just barely see the brass tube, and you can tell because it'll get real shiny. And just, you don't want to trim, you don't want to cut into the brass, you just want to see that shine, and then you know you're far enough. And you do all four sides like that, and you're ready to go. Okay, next step is to mount the blanks on the lathe and preparedness for turning it down to shape. This is the pen mandrel that the pieces fit on. This is a Morse taper that fits on the lathe. In this case it's number 2, which is what fits on my lathe. And these are the bushings. The bushings serve two purposes. First of all, they hold the wood blanks on the lathe. You'll see this machine down piece fits right into the brass tube. And the outside surface is also the indicator of how far you have to turn the wood down to fit the parts of the pen. So they serve two purposes. They hold the blanks on the lathe, and they also indicate how far down you have to turn the piece of wood in order to fit the pen kit. So first, the cap blank, that's going to be the end where the clip of the pen goes. That goes on. Then your cap blank that I marked, and you want to keep your center indicator marks lined up so that you can put them together. And then your center guide goes on, and then this is your sizing guide for the trimming down to fit the center band of the pen. And then your tip point of the pen blank goes on, and finally the bushing that gives you the dimensions for the tip end of the pen, and hold it all in place with the knurled nut that tightens down. Until we get it on the lathe, we don't want to get it real tight, we just want to hold it in place. And basically that's what holds it on the lathe. And then this will go into the lathe and will be ready to start turning on.